Hey guys, it's Talamic here with DNB Academy, and today I want to talk about reverb and compression and how you can use the two together to get some interesting effects, and how the order of those two effects will make a difference. So I'm going to do this tutorial with a kick, but the concept will apply to literally anything, so you can kind of get creative with it. So it's been more about showing you how it works than necessarily doing it with like the most interesting sound. So we've got a kick from the DNB Academy marathon pack from 2022. It's John Doe's kick. So we've got I've got a quieter one here. I'm going to create like a kind of hall effect reverb, or hall kick reverb thing, using compression and reverb. So for those of you who are kind of unaware on how compression works, essentially what we're doing is reading the input volume, and then the compressor will make some calculations depending on what settings we've got as to how much it will reduce the volume by. So say we've got our threshold set at -10 and the sound goes over to like, I don't know, hits -5 dB or whatever, which is 5 decibels over our threshold. It will then use the ratio and attack and release to determine how quickly and how much it will reduce that sound down to the -10 threshold. So I won't go too much into compression in this video, but essentially what we're doing is ducking volume, and that will become kind of important later on. So I've got a compressor. Turn the EQ off. Default attack and release, we won't worry about that, and fairly default ratio. I've got makeup turned on, which means that as it reduces the level of the incoming audio, it will then boost the gain to compensate. So if I bring the threshold back up, you can see here that's the gain reduction there, so that's how much our level is changing. And as I bring that down, as it reduces the level of the tail, the click or the kick of the kick becomes more pronounced because the compressor's not kicking in fast enough, pun not intended. So the click is getting through, but the rest of the sample is ducking down, which is why it sounds way more clicky. I'll actually do it without makeup because the makeup's quite aggressive on this compressor. You can hear it, if I bring it like all the way down, you can hear what's kind of getting through. Anyway, and then we've got a reverb. Valhalla Vintage. This is like my favourite one. We've got the mix set to 43.8%. And just for transparency's sake, I've also got a filter here, which we can use to like shape it a little bit later. So first, a lot of people put the reverb last in the chain. That's kind of what they're used to doing, and then compressor quite early on. We end up with quite a kind of clicky, weird kind of effects. What's happening there, as I said, is like a fairly standard thing. We've got the compressor, we're ducking that audio and controlling the kind of level, and then we've got a reverb to add that space. If we swap these around, what will then happen is that because we're taking the sample and taking the peaks and lowering them down, as we have that reverb tail, the tail of the reverb and the kind of actual kick hit of the sound will become more uniform in volume. So we end up with essentially what kind of creates a bigger reverb, because by bringing those other levels down, so the whole thing is more uniform, when it is then balanced in the mix, you'll obviously bring it up a bit, and the reverb tail then comes up with it. So the whole sound becomes, the reverb just becomes bigger, for lack of a better term. So if I turn the makeup on and bring that level down. So other way around. We've got that click really coming through, and the reverb tail is a fairly kind of standard reverb. Because the reverb also washes some of those highs out, we lose some of that sort of over heavy clickiness, and the reverb tail comes up and becomes bigger. This can be really useful if you're doing like a big dance floor drum and bass lead or something as well. Having it this way around, obviously slightly lighter compression, probably slightly lighter on the reverb as well, can create like a really good big thick sound. Really good for effect vocals as well if you're doing vocal atmospheres and stuff. This is brilliant for that. Yeah, so really quick, really simple tip. If we then add that filter, we've then gone from to that. So yeah, nice quick tip. Make sure you're consciously deciding where to put your compression and your reverb, and that, you know, if there are certain like rules as to where you need to put things, breaking them is sometimes a really good idea, because you get some really cool sounds like this. Hope that was helpful. Any questions, let us know, and I'll see you in the next one.